Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we'll be discovering the most relaxing facts about butterflies. Those quiet travelers of sunlight and breeze, whose wings hold more wonder than we might ever notice while awake. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, just breathe. Let your eyes grow heavy, and let the soft rhythm of your breath guide you home. You might imagine the room around you growing a little dimmer, the lights fading into a hush of blue-gray twilight. Outside, the world softens, a slow wind brushing through the grass, a nightbird calling far away. And somewhere, unseen but near, a single butterfly folds its wings beneath a leaf, ready for rest. Butterflies, such simple, fleeting beings, and yet, in their fragile grace, they've captured the heart of the world for centuries. Each wingbeat seems to whisper of something eternal, transformation, freedom, and the quiet rhythm of life itself. As you listen, let's drift gently through the story of these weightless creatures. We'll wander through meadows drenched in morning dew, across fields of gold and lavender, and into the secret corners of the forest, where sunlight scatters like soft dust, and time itself seems to slow. Butterflies are born from silence. They begin as tiny eggs, so small that they might fit upon the head of a pin. Within each one, a quiet spark of life waits patiently. When the moment is right, a caterpillar emerges, small, hungry, curious, ready to eat and grow, to prepare for a change it doesn't yet understand. There's something almost meditative about their patience, isn't there? They don't rush toward the sky. They simply become slowly, quietly, as the world moves around them. When the time comes, they spin a cocoon, a small hidden chamber of transformation. Inside, in darkness and stillness, their body dissolves and reforms. A process so mysterious that even scientists describe it as a kind of magic. And then, one quiet morning, the shell begins to tremble. The butterfly awakens fragile, trembling, perfect. Its wings unfold like delicate origami, still damp with the memory of its former life. The sun warms them gently, and then, with one careful breath of wind, the butterfly takes flight. It's easy to think of this moment as the end of a story, but truly, it's only another beginning. Each butterfly lives a brief, exquisite life, sometimes just a few weeks. Yet in that time, they pollinate flowers, feed the birds, paint the air with color, and remind us of the quiet beauty in fleeting things. Their wings are like small mirrors of the earth's imagination. Every pattern, every shimmer of iridescent blue or fiery orange, tells a story of evolution, of survival through delicacy. The scales on their wings, thousands upon thousands of tiny, microscopic tiles, bend light in ways that even modern physics still finds wondrous. When a butterfly glows with an impossible hue, deep azure, golden flame, or silken green, what you see is not pigment but light itself, dancing in microstructure. Color without color. A whisper of physics and art intertwined. And yet, none of that feels mechanical when you watch them move. It feels like poetry, a small living poem written by the wind. Imagine one now fluttering before you. Its wings move in slow, gentle waves, not like the harsh flap of a bird, but like breath itself. Up and down, up and down. A rhythm you can almost fall asleep to. Butterflies are not just creatures of the day. Some rest with their wings closed at dusk, sheltering from cool air and soft shadows. Others drift in twilight gardens, hovering above moon-pale flowers that open only at night. And if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with the quiet part of your heart, you can almost feel the hush of their stillness. A stillness that reminds us to pause, to simply be. It's remarkable how small things like butterflies can hold such vast meaning. Across the world, they've become symbols of the soul, of change, of hope. In ancient Greece, the word psyche meant both butterfly and soul. In Japan, two butterflies dancing together were once said to symbolize a long and happy marriage. In Mexico, the monarch butterflies that return each autumn are believed to carry the spirits of ancestors visiting for Dia de los Muertos. Light, delicate wings bridging the worlds of life and remembrance. Every culture sees in them something eternal, though they live so briefly. Perhaps that's the secret. Their beauty is their impermanence. A reminder that the most meaningful moments are often the most fleeting ones. Like morning light, or the hush just before sleep. So, as you listen to my voice and the air grows softer around you, imagine a meadow at the edge of dusk. The last rays of sunlight spill across the grass. Shadows stretch and merge with the cool evening air. A few butterflies linger their wings, glowing faintly in the golden light. They drift slowly toward a line of trees, toward rest. And maybe, just maybe, they know something about peace that we have forgotten. Because butterflies do not rush. They do not plan or regret. They simply move in harmony with the air, trusting it completely. And in that trust, they find freedom. You might let your own thoughts drift that way too. Let them rise and fall like soft wings. You do not have to hold on to them. You do not have to chase them. They are simply passing by, light and beautiful. Breathe in and breathe out. Notice how the air feels against your skin. Gentle, steady, always there. The same air that carries a butterfly across continents. The same wind that moves through your open window now. Butterflies remind us that transformation does not have to be loud. That growth can be silent, slow, even invisible, until one day, something new emerges, shimmering, light as breath. And maybe, in the quiet of this night, that thought alone can bring you peace. So just rest now. Let the images drift through your mind of sunlight and wings, of meadows and silence. The world outside is calm. The butterflies have folded their wings for the night. And soon, you will too. The night deepens now. The world outside grows quiet, a hush that feels almost ancient. Somewhere beyond the walls of your room, in the memory of forests and flowers long gone, the story of butterflies began. When we speak of their origins, we are really whispering about the earth itself, about how life learns to grow lighter, how it finds new ways to dance with air. Butterflies have been here for tens of millions of years. Before there were cities or even birds that sang in the morning, there were wings already shimmering in the prehistoric sunlight. Imagine the world then, a warm, green planet wrapped in ferns and tall trees dripping with mist. Giant insects filled the air, their wings thick and heavy. And then, slowly, nature began to experiment with delicacy, with grace, with color. The ancestors of butterflies were small, night-flying moths. They came from the shadows, from the cool breath of the forest, learning to trust the darkness. Over time, as flowers began to bloom, and the daylight filled with scent and color, some of those moths began to change. They learned to live in sunlight. Their wings grew brighter, thinner, more fragile, like a whisper that refused to vanish. And so the first butterflies emerged, explorers of color, sunlight's first companions. Their wings mirrored the petals they visited, forming one of nature's most intimate partnerships. For every flower that opened, there was a butterfly that came to greet it. Together they shaped the modern world. Flowers offering nectar, butterflies carrying pollen, each depending on the other in a quiet, endless exchange. It's a relationship written not in words, but in rhythm, a slow dance of life and color. The flower bends. The butterfly hovers. The air trembles between them like music too soft for the human ear. There are now more than 18,000 species of butterflies known to science, scattered across every continent except Antarctica. From the icy mountains of the Himalayas to the humid forests of the Amazon, from sunlit meadows in France to the deserts of Namibia, they live everywhere the light can reach. Each one, an artist of the wind, painting its own design on the air. Their wings are not just decoration. They are instruments, living canvases that reflect, absorb, and scatter light in delicate harmonies. The vibrant blues of the morpho butterfly are created by tiny ridges on its scales that bend light into shimmering iridescence. The soft oranges and blacks of the monarch serve as a warning to predators. I am beautiful, but I am not safe to eat. And the transparent wings of the glasswing butterfly, so clear, you can see right through them, turn invisibility into a kind of poetry. Each adaptation, each color and curve, tells a story millions of years in the making. And yet, none of it feels ancient when you watch them. It feels immediate, alive, like a heartbeat in the air. Butterflies are masters of change, not only in their metamorphosis, but in the subtle art of survival. They have evolved to blend perfectly with their surroundings, some looking like leaves, others like bark or even droplets of rain. A few have patterns that mimic eyes, large and bright, to scare away birds. Others move in unpredictable, zigzag patterns that make it nearly impossible to catch them. Even in vulnerability, they have found a kind of wisdom, the wisdom of softness. Their bodies are impossibly light, their wings paper thin, yet they can travel astonishing distances. The monarch butterfly, for instance, makes one of the longest migrations of any insect on Earth, thousands of miles across North America, guided only by instinct and the magnetic whispers of the planet itself. They begin their journey in late summer, leaving Canada and the northern United States, following invisible paths southward until they reach the mountains of central Mexico. There, millions of monarchs gather in silent forests, clinging to the trees like living orange leaves. And when the sun rises, they fill the air in a gentle, golden storm. To stand in such a forest is to feel both small and infinite at once. Every wingbeat is a breath, a pulse of time itself. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the faint rustle, not of noise, but of presence. A reminder that life continues, quietly, beautifully, whether or not we are awake to see it. Butterflies are also extraordinary in their simplicity. They do not see the world as we do. Their eyes are made of thousands of tiny lenses, each capturing a fragment of light, color, and movement. To a butterfly, the world is a mosaic, a living kaleidoscope of shifting hues. They can perceive ultraviolet light, allowing them to see patterns on flowers that are completely invisible to humans. To us, a daisy may look plain white. To a butterfly, it glows with hidden rings of ultraviolet, pointing the way to the nectar within a secret message written in light. And yet, for all their perception, butterflies live in the moment. They do not remember, they do not plan. Their life is a string of small, perfect nows. Every flower, every beam of sunlight is both the first and the last. Perhaps that is why they seem so peaceful, because to live without the weight of before or after is to be utterly free. If you close your eyes, you might picture the first butterfly you ever saw. Maybe it was a small one, yellow as lemon peel, drifting across a summer afternoon, or perhaps a blue one, trembling above a field of lavender. Do you remember how time slowed, just for that moment? That was your first glimpse of what nature feels like when it breathes slowly. There's an old legend from China that says, when you dream of a butterfly, your soul is wandering. It means you are moving between worlds, half in sleep, half in life, much like the butterfly itself, suspended between earth and sky. Perhaps in this moment, as you drift closer to rest, your thoughts too begin to flutter that way. Butterflies remind us that beauty often hides in fragility. Their wings tear easily, their lives are brief, and yet they never seem afraid of motion or change. They teach us that gentleness is not weakness, that lightness can carry great distance if one trusts the wind. Some scientists say that the first butterflies evolved alongside the first flowering plants roughly 100 million years ago. That means that every blossom you see today carries an echo of that partnership, a memory of when color and flight first met. Before that, the world was mostly green. Butterflies help teach it to dream in color. And now, when you see one pass before your window, that moment connects you to an ancient lineage, a quiet lineage of wings and wind, of sunlight turned to motion, a lineage that still continues every day, in every corner of the world. So, as you listen now, imagine the slow unfolding of time, the earth turning under an endless sky, the first petals opening, the first wings catching light, all of it still happening, again and again, in the great rhythm of life. In that rhythm, there is peace. In that cycle, there is forever. The night continues softly around you now. The world is hushed, and somewhere between dream and waking, the story of butterflies begins to intertwine with the story of us. For as long as human eyes have looked toward the sky, we've been enchanted by wings, the effortless defiance of gravity, the promise of freedom written in color and motion. And among all winged creatures, butterflies have always stirred something ancient in the human heart. Long before science gave them names, they lived in our myths. In ancient Greece, a butterfly was called Psyche, the same word for soul. Artists carved them into marble tombs, believing that each fluttering wing was a spirit leaving the body, light and free. To them, a butterfly was not just an insect, it was transformation made visible. Across the ocean, in the temples of ancient Mexico, the Aztecs saw butterflies as symbols of rebirth and warriors returning from death. They believed that when sunlight flickered across a butterfly's wings, it was the laughter of fallen heroes echoing through the air. To release a butterfly was to honor life itself, the lightness that always returns after darkness. In Japan, during the Edo period, poets wrote haikus about two butterflies circling each other in spring, a sign of love's gentle endurance. To the Chinese philosopher Zhuangzhou, the butterfly became a question of existence itself. He once dreamt he was a butterfly, fluttering joyfully through the fields, and upon waking, he wondered, was I Zhuangzhou dreaming I was a butterfly, or a butterfly now dreaming I am Zhuangzhou? That dream still drifts through centuries of thought, a whisper that reality itself might be as delicate as a wing. And perhaps, in a way, it is. Because the more we learn, the more we realize how fragile, how finely balanced the world truly is. In the age of exploration, when ships crossed oceans and naturalists carried sketchbooks instead of cameras, butterflies became one of the first ambassadors of nature's beauty. Collectors traveled through jungles and mountains, carefully preserving each specimen between glass and paper. Their journals overflowed with wonder and sometimes with guilt at the thought that something so alive, so fleeting, could be held still. In the 18th century, European scientists began to study butterflies not as decorations, but as clues to life's deeper design. They noticed how each stage, egg, caterpillar, chrysalis, and adult, formed a perfect circle of transformation. It was a living metaphor for change, one that philosophers and poets alike could not ignore. Carl Linnaeus, the Swedish naturalist who named so many of Earth's species, once described butterflies as flowers that have learned to fly. A gentle truth hidden in a sentence, and even now, those words still hold. Because butterflies remind us that life and beauty are never separate. They are one and the same motion, repeated endlessly in different forms. Later, as the centuries turned and glass lenses grew clearer, scientists began to look closer at the minute scales of a wing, at the strange chemistry of metamorphosis, at the fragile architecture of flight. And what they found was beyond imagination. Under a microscope, a butterfly's wing looks like a mosaic made of thousands of overlapping scales, each one shaped like a tiny leaf or shingle. Together, they catch and bend light, creating patterns too intricate for any brush to paint. Some scales are coated with pigments, browns and reds, drawn from minerals or plant dyes. Others contain no color at all, only structured tiny ridges that scatter light into blues and purples through the miracle of physics. Color born not from matter, but from the dance of light itself. And the more scientists looked, the more mystery they found. They discovered that a butterfly's transformation inside its chrysalis is not simple growth, it is a complete reimagining. The caterpillar dissolves, its old body breaking down into a kind of living soup, rich with dormant cells waiting to awaken. From that formless stillness, the blueprint of a butterfly unfolds: eyes, legs, wings, all rebuilt from silence. It's not just change, it's resurrection. Some entomologists, scientists who study insects, have described this process as a dream of biology. Because even after centuries of study, we still don't fully understand how something so complex happens so effortlessly. It's as if each butterfly carries a secret that cannot be translated, only witnessed. And yet, even in the age of satellites and artificial intelligence, we still chase them not with nets anymore, but with cameras and curiosity. Across fields, children still run barefoot, following the flicker of color that seems to float just beyond reach. Even adults, weary from long days and heavy thoughts, pause when a butterfly passes, because for a heartbeat, everything slows. The mind forgets to worry. The heart remembers to breathe. There's a strange power in that pause. Perhaps that's why the earliest naturalists often described butterflies as medicine for the spirit. They believed that simply watching them could quiet the noise inside the human mind. And now, modern psychologists would likely agree. Studies have shown that observing nature, even for a few minutes, can lower stress, slow the heart rate, and ease anxiety. So maybe those early thinkers were right all along, that wonder itself is a kind of healing. In the early 20th century, the study of butterflies took a new turn. Scientists began to use them as keys to understanding evolution and climate change. Because butterflies are sensitive, exquisitely tuned to temperature, sunlight, and the presence of certain plants. Where they go, the health of the planet follows. In recent decades, researchers have watched as migration patterns shift, as seasons change faster than before. Some species now emerge earlier in spring, confused by the warmth. Others travel farther north than ever, chasing the coolness they once knew. And in that movement, scientists read a warning, the Earth itself changing rhythm. Still, amidst the data and the charts, there remains that same simple awe. No matter how many facts we gather, the feeling never fades. The quiet amazement at something so fragile that it can survive 1,000 miles of wind. Maybe that's what human curiosity really is. Not just the hunger to know, but the longing to belong. When we study the butterfly, we are really studying ourselves, the part of us that changes, that dreams, that trusts invisible forces to carry us somewhere new. So tonight, as you lie still and breathe, imagine yourself beside those early dreamers, ancient poets, wandering scientists, quiet souls under starlight, all gazing at the same gentle miracle. A wing unfolding, a color trembling in the Sunday, a creature lighter than a thought, yet older than memory. The butterfly, like knowledge itself, has always been both fragile and eternal. And as long as there are eyes to see and hearts to wonder, we will keep following it through fields, through time, through sleep. So let your thoughts drift now, softly, like pages turning in the wind. The story continues, quietly, into the distance. The night is softer now. Outside, the air holds that quiet hum of the living world. Not loud, not still, just gently breathing. If you listen closely, you might feel it too. Because even in darkness, life is never truly asleep. Butterflies, though delicate and fleeting, are part of that endless rhythm, threads of light woven into the great tapestry of nature. Every time one drifts through the air, a dozen invisible connections stir around it. To watch a butterfly is to watch the world interact with itself. Flower to wing, wind to petal, light to motion. In daylight, they seem like little fragments of the sun itself. But what they truly are keepers of balance. Tiny, wordless gardeners that carry life between blossoms. When a butterfly lands upon a flower, it doesn't just rest. It takes in the sweet nectar deep within, and in return, gathers a little dust of pollen upon its body, small golden grains that cling to the fine hairs of its legs and wings. Then, when it flutters onward, that pollen drifts with it, carried to the next bloom. There, new life begins again. It's a simple act, unseen by most eyes, yet the very cycle that keeps our fields and forests alive. Without pollinators, bees, moths, bats, and butterflies, the world would soon grow silent and gray. Flowers would fade, fruits would vanish, and the songs of birds would thin, for the seeds they feed upon would never form. But because of these fragile wanderers, the planet blooms in color. In this way, butterflies are like quiet messengers of creation. They do not intend to build or plan yet. By following the sweetness of flowers, they sustain entire ecosystems. Even the smallest motion of a wing can ripple outward, in ways we may never see. Some scientists once called this the butterfly effect, the idea that the faint flutter of wings in one corner of the world could set in motion a chain of events leading to a storm in another. Though meant as a metaphor for chaos, it also speaks to something gentler, that nothing in nature is truly small. Every motion, every breath, every life touches another. And perhaps in that truth, we find a kind of peace. In the meadows and forests of our world, butterflies share their space with countless others. They are food for birds and lizards, companions to bees, and guides for flowering plants. Their presence tells scientists how healthy a landscape truly is. A place rich in butterflies is almost always rich in balance, clean water, thriving plants, steady climate, and quiet cooperation between species. There are places deep in the tropics where clouds of butterflies rise together in shimmering waves, yellow, white, and blue, filling the air like a living mist. They gather near rivers, drawn by minerals in the wet soil. They sip, rest, and lift again, like petals carried on breath. Locals call these gatherings butterfly rain. And when you stand beneath it, the world feels both sacred and light, as if the air itself has decided to bloom. But butterflies are not only keepers of nature's beauty, they are also quiet teachers of adaptation. Each one is attuned to its specific environment, to the seasons, the warmth, the scent of certain flowers, the pattern of the wind. When a habitat changes, when forests are cleared or climates shift, the butterflies know first. They vanish. Their silence becomes a message we can no longer ignore. Scientists call them bioindicators, beings whose presence or absence tells the story of the Earth's health. When butterflies disappear from a region, it is often a sign that something deeper is unwell, that the land is drying, the soil is poisoned, or the air is no longer kind. And when they return, it means the world is healing. That's why, in many countries, people now plant small butterfly gardens, tiny sanctuaries of color and care. Filled with milkweed, lavender, and marigold, these gardens offer a safe stop for migrating butterflies, a place to feed and rest. Even a few square feet of flowers can become a haven, proof that kindness to small things still matters. If you close your eyes now, imagine one of those gardens at the edge of summer. The air hums gently with bees and wind. Sunlight trembles through petals. And between them, a monarch glides slow, calm, timeless. It pauses on a bloom, drinks, and moves again. No rush, no noise, no purpose, but to exist beautifully. In its small circle of flight, the entire planet breathes a little easier. There's a quiet wisdom in that. The butterfly's world is simple, yet it contains everything we long for: connection, rhythm, purpose, and peace. Every flower it visits is a conversation between life and light. Every flight, a small poem written in air. And beyond the gardens, butterflies reach even further into art, into memory, into the gentle fabric of human feeling. Children chase them across fields, laughing. Lovers watch them drift on summer afternoons. In every culture, in every time, butterflies have carried our dreams, reminders that beauty does not need to last forever to be real. You can find them painted on temple walls, carved in stone, woven into silk. In ancient Egypt, they symbolized rebirth. In Celtic stories, they were spirits of joy. Even in modern times, people release butterflies at weddings and memorials, tiny moments of flight that say what words cannot. Life continues. When you think about it, That's their greatest gift to the living world. The reminder that transformation is natural, that endings are not really endings, that what once crawled can learn to fly. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize that these fragile beings, lighter than a leaf, shorter-lived than a season, carry lessons deep enough to last lifetimes. And perhaps that's why, in the presence of butterflies, we instinctively fall silent, because something in them mirrors the quiet part of us, the part that still believes in softness, in color, in change. So, as the night deepens, imagine the world of butterflies continuing even now, beneath moonlight, under leaves, inside the hush of gardens. Eggs resting in safety, caterpillars sleeping, readying for dawn. Wings folded, waiting for the first light of morning. The earth hums softly beneath them, alive with the promise of another day. And maybe, somewhere in that same rhythm, your own spirit finds rest, knowing that you too are part of this living web, this grand circle of breath and becoming. The butterflies have touched your world, even from afar. And perhaps you have touched theirs. Some nights, when the air feels especially still, the world begins to whisper. If you listen long enough, you might sense it, a rhythm beneath the surface, faint but steady. It's the same rhythm that guides the tide, the same pulse that turns seeds into forests and caterpillars into wings. Hidden patterns, quiet mysteries, the silent order behind all living things. Butterflies carry that mystery in every thread of their being. To most of us, they are only color and motion, drifting fragments of sunlight. But within them lies a story written in shapes, numbers, and light. If you look closely at a butterfly's wings, truly look, you'll see a geometry so intricate it feels almost impossible. Each scale, smaller than a grain of dust, fits perfectly into the next. Together, they form ripples of symmetry that echo the patterns of galaxies, of seashells, of the human heartbeat. Nature loves repetition. It finds harmony in the balance between chaos and order. And the butterfly, somehow, captures that balance in motion. The wings themselves are miracles of design, light, yet strong enough to travel across oceans. Soft, yet able to command the air. Every curve, every color patch serves a purpose. Some markings mimic leaves or bark, hiding them from predators. Others blaze with vivid hues to signal danger or beauty, or perhaps both. You might think of the peacock butterfly, with its great eyes upon its wings, staring back at the world. Or the blue morpho, glowing with metallic light, not because of pigment, but because of structure. Underneath that color lies a network of microscopic ridges that bend light itself, scattering it until only the purest blue remains. It is not painted. It is engineered by evolution. And yet, it feels like art. Some scientists call this structural color, a phenomenon where light is not absorbed but shaped, transformed. It's the same trick that makes a soap bubble shimmer or the inside of a seashell gleam. But on a butterfly's wing, it becomes something more than science. It becomes poetry in motion. If you tilt the wing in sunlight, it changes. Blue becomes silver. Silver becomes shadow. Every angle reveals something new. And so, the butterfly becomes a living prism, a reminder that beauty is never fixed, but constantly transforming, depending on where and how we choose to look. In ancient cultures, people believed the patterns on butterfly wings were secret languages, signs from spirits, or messages from the divine. The Aztecs thought they were souls of warriors, returning to rest upon flowers. The Japanese saw them as symbols of metamorphosis of the human heart, learning to let go. And in many places, people believed that when a butterfly landed on you, someone you loved was thinking of you. These beliefs, though woven in myth, touch upon something true, that butterflies, like dreams, live between worlds, between air and earth, between what is seen and what is unseen, between life and the memory of it. Even in science, there are mysteries we cannot fully name. When researchers studied the migration of monarch butterflies, they discovered something astonishing. Each autumn, millions of them travel from the northern fields of America to the forests of central Mexico, a journey of thousands of miles. Yet no single butterfly completes the entire trip. It takes 4, sometimes 5 generations. The first lays eggs along the way, then dies. The next continues, and then another, and another, until at last the great-great-grandchildren arrive at the very same forest where their ancestors once began. No map, no teacher, just memory written in the rhythm of their genes, a compass carried in light and instinct. How do they know the way? Some scientists believe they read the angle of the sunday. Others think they sense the magnetic pull of the earth. But maybe, in some quiet way, they simply listen to the same pulse we all come from, that soft hum of being alive. This mystery, this perfect balance of science and spirit, is what makes butterflies feel like symbols of both order and wonder. They show us that the universe can be both logical and lyrical, measurable and magical, that behind every fact lies a feeling, and behind every pattern, a breath. Sometimes I imagine their flight as a kind of meditation, each beat of the wing a mantra, each pause upon a flower a prayer. They move with grace not because they hurry, but because they never fight the wind. They simply flow with it, as though they trust the air completely. There's something deeply human in that, the longing to surrender, to trust that even when we cannot see the pattern, there is one, that the twists, the pauses, the waiting, all belong to the same invisible design, the same that turns a crawling caterpillar into a creature of light. And when we slow down, when we, too, stop chasing the next thing, we begin to sense that design around us. The way sunlight filters through leaves, the way rain falls in rhythm, the way our breath finds the same calm cadence as the tide. Butterflies remind us that life does not move in straight lines. It spirals, it folds, it circles back on itself. Sometimes the pattern is only clear in hindsight, when we look back and see how every change, every pause, every letting go led to something more delicate, more complete. Maybe that's why we find peace in their presence. They embody what we forget, that there is quiet wisdom in the hidden order of things, that chaos, too, has its own beauty. So, as you drift deeper into rest, imagine the invisible maps that guide them, lines of light stretching across continents, shimmering just above the earth. Imagine wings gliding through the dusk, tracing the unseen geometry of the world. They move not by force, but by faith. And maybe that is the truest pattern of all, the whisper beneath the noise, the stillness beneath the motion, the mystery that lives quietly inside everything, waiting, patient, gentle, for us to notice. There's a moment just before dawn when the air feels different. It's not quite night anymore, not yet morning, that in-between place where the world seems to hold its breath. It's there, in that stillness, that we begin to understand what butterflies have been quietly teaching us all along. Because to watch a butterfly is to watch the art of becoming. Not rushing, not forcing, just becoming gently, naturally, in time. We often forget that before there is flight, there is waiting. Before there are wings, there is darkness. A caterpillar must dissolve into almost nothing before it is reborn. Inside the cocoon, it lets go of the form it once knew, surrendering completely to the unknown. Its body softens, its shape disappears, and from that surrender, from that total stillness, something new begins to form. It's a process that cannot be hurried. You cannot open the cocoon early, cannot tug at the shell and call it kindness, because the strength needed to break free is built within the struggle. If it does not fight its way out, its wings will never fill with life. That perhaps is one of nature's gentlest truths. Every transformation needs both patience and resistance. How human that feels. How familiar. We too go through seasons of stillness when nothing seems to move, when all we can do is wait. But beneath that waiting, something unseen is shaping us. The quiet work of becoming never truly stops. The butterfly reminds us that growth does not always look like motion. Sometimes it looks like resting. Sometimes it looks like falling apart. And sometimes it looks like trusting that the pieces will find their way back together softer, brighter, lighter than before. When we let go of who we were, we make space for who we might become. That is what the cocoon teaches, that even endings can be tender beginnings in disguise. In many ways, we live our lives in small cocoons, moments of solitude, of uncertainty, of waiting to emerge. And when we finally do, we carry pieces of all that came before: memories, lessons, scars, and hopes like invisible colors folded into our wings. Maybe that's why we find such peace in watching them. They remind us that change, though often frightening, can be beautiful. That we are meant to evolve again and again, not as a sign of failure, but as proof of life. Butterflies don't mourn their caterpillar selves. They simply move forward, carrying the quiet wisdom of what they once were. And in their calm, we see a reflection of what we could be: lighter, freer, unburdened by what no longer serves us. In that sense, every butterfly is a meditation on acceptance. It accepts the wind, the rain, the briefness of its days. It accepts that beauty does not last forever, and yet that does not make it any less beautiful. It accepts the cycle of becoming and vanishing, of blooming and fading, of flying and falling still. And in doing so, it teaches us something we often forget: that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. If you think of life as a garden, then each moment, each breath, each encounter is a bloom. Some last a day, some a year, some only a heartbeat. But together, they make the whole field shimmer. The butterfly does not cling to one flower longer than it needs to. It drinks, it rests, it moves on, trusting that there will always be another blossom waiting. That's not carelessness, that's grace. We too can learn to let go with that same grace, to cherish what is here without trying to hold it still. To know that love, joy, and peace are meant to flow, not to be trapped in time. There is also humility in their fragility. A butterfly's wings can tear so easily, and yet they still open them fully. They do not hide their softness. They do not guard against the wind. They meet it with all they have, however little that might be. That's courage in its purest form, not the absence of fear, but the choice to keep moving gently, despite it. To trust the air, to trust the unseen, to trust that every flutter matters. If you have ever faced change, uncertainty, or loss, perhaps you know this kind of courage. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't shout or shine. The kind that simply says, I will keep going. In Japanese art, there's a word, mujo, that means impermanence, the acceptance that everything is transient. Butterflies are living symbols of that truth. They live only a handful of days, and yet, in that brief time, they fill the world with color. They do not waste a moment regretting their brevity. They live fully within their small infinity. And maybe that's the lesson they leave us with, that the measure of a life is not in its length, but in its light. Not in how long we stay, but in how deeply we shine while we're here. If you close your eyes now, you might picture a butterfly resting on your open hand. Its wings, delicate and trembling, rise and fall with your breath. You feel its warmth, its fragility, its calm presence. It doesn't try to escape. It simply exists here, with you, in this quiet, shared moment. There is no need to chase it, no need to keep it, just to feel it. To know that beauty can visit and depart, and still leave peace behind. Perhaps in that moment, you understand what all of nature seems to whisper, that to live well is to live lightly, to move gently through the world, to leave soft traces of kindness in our wake as butterflies do, one bloom at a time. So, tonight, as you rest, let their wisdom settle over you like evening air. Let it remind you that you are always becoming, always growing, always part of something vast and tender. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to unfold. Somewhere, beyond your window, a butterfly rests too, its wings folded, its heart quiet, waiting for dawn. And when morning comes, both of you will rise again. Not the same as before, but softer, freer, ready. The night has settled now. The stars have begun to hum their silent tune, and the world, it seems, is breathing with you. Somewhere beyond the window, the last whisper of wind moves through the trees. It carries with it the faintest scent of earth and sleep. Somewhere in that quiet, wings unfold soft, invisible, slow. Imagine for a moment that you are small again, weightless, drifting on the hush of air, carried by nothing but calm. The world below is a blur of greens and golds, fading into silver moonlight. You do not rush, you simply float. The garden beneath you glows faintly in the dim light, petals closed, dew gathering in silence. A butterfly rests upon a leaf, its wings folded like hands in prayer. It does not move, it only breathes. And somehow, that stillness feels like the purest form of motion. Listen, there is a rhythm in everything. In the hush between your breaths, in the faint murmur of leaves, in the soft sigh of your heartbeat. It's the same rhythm the butterflies know, the one that guides them through the air, through seasons, through life itself. The longer you listen, the more you feel it, the pulse beneath the quiet. Not loud, not sharp, just steady, ancient, gentle. Butterflies move with that rhythm. They do not fight the wind. They let it carry them, turning weightlessness into grace. Perhaps that's the secret of peace, not to resist the current, but to trust it, to drift softly toward wherever the light calls you. And as you drift with them, the world begins to blur around the edges. The sound of the day fades away. The noise, the thoughts, the lists of what must be done, they loosen like dust in the wind. You are left with only stillness, only breath, only now. Somewhere in that stillness, the butterflies begin to glow. Not brightly, but like lanterns underwater, soft, silver blue. Their wings catch the moonlight and scatter it across the garden. Tiny sparks of living light, moving slowly through the dark. It feels like a dream you once had, or maybe a memory too quiet to recall. You can see them now, dozens, hundreds, drifting between the flowers. The air shimmers with their presence. Every movement feels like a note in some distant, invisible song. A lullaby sung not for the ears, but for the heart. If you listen closely, you might hear it. A hum beneath the night. Low, warm, endless. It's not the sound of wings, it's the sound of everything at peace. The sound of the earth turning slowly beneath the stars. The sound of rest. You breathe with it. In and out. Slowly, softly. Every breath feels lighter now. Every thought gentler. It's as if the butterflies are carrying them away, lifting each worry, each ache, each memory that feels too heavy, and scattering them into light, until all that remains is ease and quiet. The garden around you fades into mist. Colors melt into one another, blue into silver, silver into white, white into the faint glow of dawn. And through it all, wings move slowly, endlessly. They are not bound by time or space. They simply are. The butterflies rise higher. They drift above rivers, forests, oceans, mountains. They drift through clouds and over cities. They pass unseen by sleeping homes, by silent hearts. Their path is soft, unhurried, eternal. And if you could follow them, you'd see the world below, vast and gentle. Lights flickering like stars, waves breathing against the shore. Everything alive, everything connected, everything at rest. Somewhere, deep within, you feel yourself drift with them. Your mind no longer thinking, just being. Your body no longer holding, just floating. Every muscle softens. Every sound turns to velvet. Even time itself begins to dissolve. There is no before, no after. Only this, the endless moment between breaths, where life feels infinite and weightless. In that space, the butterflies move in silence. Their wings trace invisible circles in the night. And you realize that this quiet is what the world is built upon. Stillness, holding everything together. A silence full of meaning. Perhaps this is what peace truly is. Not a place you go, but a state you return to, like butterflies returning to their forest. Not a reward for effort, but a remembering of who you already are. You are not separate from the wind. You are not apart from the world. You are part of the same soft pattern, the same song, the same breath. As the butterflies fade into the horizon, the night exhales one final sigh. The stars dim slightly, the air cools, and somewhere, in that gentle hush, you can almost hear the earth whisper, "Rest now." You let the words sink into you. They feel like water, like moonlight, like kindness. Every part of you loosens. Every thought drifts away. The wings fade. The garden fades. Even the stars fade. But the peace remains. And so does the hum, soft, endless, eternal. You are drifting now, not asleep, not awake, just floating between dreams, where the world is kind and slow. You are carried by the same rhythm as the butterflies, light, quiet, free. And as you sink deeper into rest, you realize you've never really been separate. You've always been part of this great, gentle wonder. Always. The night has become still. Everything that needed to be said has already been whispered. Now there is only quiet. You can feel it, can't you? The calm that settles after wonder. The hush that follows a long, soft sigh. Somewhere, beyond the edges of thought, the last butterfly drifts through the air. Its wings no longer shimmer, but glow faintly like memory, like moonlight touching water. Each slow beat of its wings sends ripples through the darkness. And then, even that motion fades. The world pauses. Every sound dissolves. The earth holds its breath. You are floating now, not moving, not reaching, simply being. It feels like standing in the space between stars, where time has forgotten your name, where everything you are becomes weightless and wide. In that space, there is no need for words, no need for understanding. The butterflies, the sky, the night, your breath, they all blur into one single stillness. Listen, do you hear it? That faint hum beneath everything. It isn't sound. It's the feeling of being alive. Quietly, completely. Let it fill you. Let it warm the spaces behind your ribs. Let it soften your thoughts until they melt into the dark. The butterflies are gone now. They've drifted back into the quiet world they came from. But somehow, their peace remains hovering around you like invisible light. You can almost feel them still resting on the edges of dreams. Each one, a sigh, a heartbeat, a whisper. Perhaps that is their final gift, to remind you that beauty doesn't need to last to be real, that even fleeting things can leave gentle echoes forever. Close your eyes. Breathe in the cool night air. Let it move slowly through you, like wind through an open field. In and out, softly, easily. The air smells faintly of earth and rain. Somewhere, a tiny droplet falls from a leaf. The sound is small, but endless, like time itself, circling quietly back to where it began. The stars above are pale now. One by one, they fade into dawn. Not in a hurry, just gently stepping aside for the light. Even the sky knows how to rest. And as the first light touches the horizon, the world exhales. The grass shimmers with dew. The air hums with slow warmth. And though the butterflies have gone, their dance lingers in the silence. A memory stitched into morning's breath. You might wonder if they dream. If, while resting beneath leaves or tucked beneath bark, they drift through visions of air and Sunday. Perhaps they dream of flight, of gliding above oceans, of drifting through clouds. Perhaps they dream of you, the watcher, the quiet soul who stayed up to listen. But you do not need to know. The not knowing is part of the peace. Mystery has its own rhythm, a softness that doesn't need to be solved. Let that mystery cradle you now. Let it hold you where you are. You've traveled far from knowledge to wonder, from the flutter of wings to the stillness between breaths. And here, at the edge of sleep, everything returns to silence. The butterflies, the stars, the sound of your own thoughts, all folding gently into one endless hush. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, but full, alive, radiant in its stillness. If you listen closely, you might hear it, the soft echo of wings, moving somewhere beyond sight. They are still out there, always drifting, always calm, always beautiful. And in some small, quiet way, you are too. Rest now. You are safe here. The world is breathing with you. The night is keeping watch. And the butterflies, they are whispering you to sleep. Their lullaby is wordless, just motion and peace, just the rhythm of life folding itself back into the dark, so it can begin again. Tomorrow will come, as it always does, but tonight, you belong to the quiet. Let it wrap around you, like soft wings closing. Let it carry you into dreams woven from light and air. Sleep, dear one, sleep until the next dawn's gentle hum. And when you wake, the world will still be here, calm, patient, full of wonder, just waiting for your eyes to open again. For now, rest, let go, and drift softly into the gentle silence of the end.